Uh, Britain agrees to take the south of Africa, and they name us South Africa. Yes. And then they also
take south, which is called Rhodesia.
Yes, because of Cecil John Rhodes. Yeah, the north and southern Rhodesia.
Exactly.
And.
Yeah.
And during freedom of Rhodesia, the Zimbabweans wise up and decides we cannot be called Rhodesia. We are not Rhodesians. We are Zimbabweans, because Zimbabwe is a particular bed that is there, that is only in their area, and they want to be called after them.
Yeah.
I don't want to say Mzansi, because Mzansi is still saying South. Azania, with its meaning. Why in 1994, when we had our freedom, 1990, 1991, didn't we give conditions to say, the moment you begin to be free from something, you go back to your rightful name. Why did we not do that? Because other countries, first thing when they were independent, they went back to the names that they were called.
You can name them in Africa.
Yes, a lot of them. Yes.
Even people who were obviously dictators. They named countries. Zaire.
Yeah, exactly.
Zaire.
Yes.
Was named by a dictator. And then we had people that named Burkina Faso, Sankara, the land of the upright. Now, what happened in South Africa?
Yes.
Now, this one wants me to take off my glasses.
Amandla ngawethu makube njalo kude kube ngunaphakade. Let's live a beautiful Sunday.
Good afternoon, Dr. Malungane.
Are you good?
No, I'm good. God is good.
Faithful God.
Indeed.
Faithful God. As promised to our viewers, maybe let's at a go say we have heard and seen the comments of our viewers to say 30 minutes inyani, and we are working on it. We are working on it, and we are promising them that we will extend time. It must be on demand. So the public demand is encouraging. So we are definitely going to extend time. We are looking into that. As promised today, that we'll talk about one of the most important things. That is, there is a meeting. Maybe before we could go into that meeting in Belgium, let's talk about who named this continent. And what was this continent? What is the name, the rightful name of this continent that is called Africa?
The continent Africa was named Africa by Greeks. It was not Africa. We'll come to the name afterwards. And most of the countries that are here were also not necessarily named by Africans. They were named by Europeans. And as we discuss the issue of the meeting in Belgium, we will then come into how it was divided into the French, the English, and everybody else, including the Arabs.
Yes.
We will talk about that. The original name of Africa was called Al-Kebulan. Al-Kebulan means mother of nature. It also means the Garden of Eden.
Okay. So Al-Kebulan is what language?
Al-Kebulan is I'm not so sure what language it is. I think it was the language that was spoken mainly in Africa. When Africa was divided, we had 2 or 3 main languages that were spoken. One of which became Arabic or Aramaic, somewhere there. And the other languages were local languages, but Africans have got, each and every ethnic group has got its own language. But then the people who wrote our history say then they came to a name of Al-Kebulan. Why the name of Al-Kebulan? If you were to look into what is today called the Bible, and you look at the Garden of Eden, what was in the Garden of Eden? That's what is now in Africa.
Okay.
Minerals, Everything that God would have thought would be good for mankind. It's in Africa, in actual fact. It's also a center for civilization. Those who do not know, we are responsible for civilization. Let me put it here without fear of contradiction. There's no Greek philosophy.
I fully agree with you.
There's no Greek philosophy.
There's
no Greek mathematics. Forget the Pythagoras story.
Yes.
Forget those.
The Greeks came into Alkebulan,
yes,
or Eden,
yes,
land, medicine, all these other things.
Yes.
And then from there, because our things were not documented.
They were
documented.
That's why we have the Timbuktu manuscripts. They were documented. That's why we have a Bible in Ethiopia that is bigger than the Bible that we're having now.
Yes.
Our Bible has got 66 books. The one of Ethiopia has got 88 books. So we were documenting our things. In actual fact, Alexander the Great, when he came into Africa, into what is known as Alexander, but the Alexander that's in Egypt now.
Yes.
He came there, and then the first thing that he did, when he took Egypt and took the library and everything out of Egypt, he named the capital city Alexander.
Alexandria.
The Great.
Yes.
He named it
after himself.
And that's how they do things. Yeah, when they arrive, they name things after themselves. And then he left. Remember, very few people know that the first university to confer a degree is found at Morocco, and the second one to confer a degree is found in Egypt, and the third one to confer a degree is found in Mali. Very few people know.
Cities of the world in terms of civilization was also in Africa. The first cities in your Benin and other countries,
exactly,
in Mali itself.
In fact, everything that today determines the economy of the world, from the mining. Mining was done in Mali and it was stolen in Mali. When they came, we knew gold. We didn't start to see gold.
Hence there was Musa Mansa.
Who traded, by the way, with the West.
Yes.
With gold. Yeah. And it made him the richest guy. He was not rich because he had money. Money came at a later stage. We were trading in minerals that we could get in Africa that made us very rich. So that is why Mansa is the richest man
ever lived.
Who ever lived. He's in the book of Guinness of Records. He's the richest man.
Let's go then. What went wrong to Alkebulan? Because there's a meeting that is taking place in Belgium. After the white people realized how, I want to speak in respect. After the white people realized how benevolent, how kind, and how welcoming we are, they took us, or they took our ancestors for fools. Then they started slave trade.
They started slave trade. But also, when they were trading in slaves, we must also be careful not to think that they were looking for employees. No. Employees was part. But when they were dealing in slavery, they targeted certain individuals within our communities. Right?
Weren't they speaking to chiefs?
They were speaking to chiefs. Because they wouldn't know that as we sit here, we think Malungana, at his age, at 18, he looks particularly bright. He's performing great at school. And he is our hope for the future. And that's what they targeted.
They went for the future of Africa.
Of Africa. When Bomansa were trading, they did not trade on their own. They had advisors. It is these advisors that were targeted for slavery. They didn't just come.
It is also said that Mansa sold people.
He did sell people. Every rich person in Africa had a hand in selling people. So we are in the slave trade. Africans are not particularly innocent. There are those that sold out. The spirit of selling out is not new for the politics of today. But how did they sell us? They sell us out. When a person arrives and he's innocent and he's talking to you in an innocent way, remember there's also a barrier of language. Yeah? And I do not necessarily believe that when white people talk to our people, they said, sell us these people, we're gonna turn them into slaves. They said, sell us these people. We go into another country. We will give them whatever that we give so that when they come back and make Africa a better place. I can't see that all the chiefs decided to sell out. No. Something must have been said to them to make them easy.
There is a tribe in Namibia. I want you to Google it and look for it.
Sure.
In this tribe of Namibia, it's like when you come to my house, as a way of welcoming you and being excited, I allow you to my matrimonial bed with my wife. And this is a tribe, and this is a culture, a Sikh culture, according to me, but according to them, it's fine.
It's fine.
Remember, as Africans, when you come as a visitor, I will slaughter, I would want to show you goodness, and part of this might have costed us how they viewed us.
Exactly. That is why I've held a view that the people spoken of in the Bible cannot be white.
I agree.
Because in the way that white manipulate the situation, use it to their own advantage, it couldn't have been them that the Bible was talking about.
Yes.
When they targeted these people, they didn't only target great people, good athletes. They also targeted not only advisors, they also targeted people that when they look at, remember, they walked in Africa, they were told this is Malungana's family and this is his 3 wives and he has got 25 children. What do you think when your democracy depends on numbers? What is your first thing? If I can get this person, the descendant of this guy, I can create a nation out of him.
True.
So they also looked at that.
So now, fast forward, here is a meeting in Belgium.
Sure.
Please explain this meeting.
The meeting in Belgium was called after everybody came to Africa in one way or the other, Bartholomew Dias and then everybody else, and long before Bartholomew Dias. And after the attack of Egypt, as I indicated, of Alexander the Great,
yes,
people realized there's minerals in Africa. And then people started to say, how do we then create a long-lasting economy that will boost our countries? We need these minerals for us to sustain our cars and our planes. We need the oil in Nigeria. For us to marry and have whatever that we have, rings and whatever, we need the gold that is in Africa, that is found in Mali, in its and in South Africa. So we need. So they started to say, okay, in your country, what do you need? You say oil. They say, okay, go and colonize Africa from here to here. The Democratic Republic of Congo, one of the most richest
in the world.
They said, let's go there. And who went there? France.
France.
Yeah, France. The French people. And let's ask, why the French? Two things about the French. They have no other resource except Africa.
Yes, but my question is, in that meeting, where did they get the decency to decide that, like, it's in a language of the street, Kamina Kawena, Kamina Kawena. Here they take the map of Al-Kebulan and then they decide, listen, me as Britain, I want the south and I also want part of the north. Me as France, I take this part. Me as Italy, I take that part. Me as and all that. Where did they get this decency? And why in 1964, when African Union was formed, these people did not reverse that decision?
All right. It came from greed. Greed. Nothing else but greed. Ne?
You can't
be greedy and then go and annex somebody's land unless olumakaka in nature.
Yes.
So it's greedy. Let me put it this way, and it will sound very, very attacking, but let me put it this way. There is no nation that has ever lived with 5 people peaceful, including themselves.
Agreed.
They are not peaceful with themselves.
They do not know peace.
And when they were tired of fighting among themselves, they focused in Africa to build their own economies. And them being them, in Africa, when we build our economies, we had people that were good in war, the art of war. Actually, the art of war started in Africa. If you read the Bible in the book of Jeremiah, from chapter 18 to chapter 20, it's a prophecy against Africa. In there's a prophecy that says there are these tall guys, very handsome, feared in war, with very, very smooth skin. Who are those?
Africans.
Ethiopians, particularly Ethiopians. That is why when France wanted to annex Ethiopia,
when Italy
wanted to annex Ethiopia, it couldn't. It couldn't. Why? Because they were good. The art of war came from them, and that is where the people that moved out of that art of war, they influenced what is today called Asia, or China and Japan. That is why the Chinese have got what we call Shaolin and Kung Fu. All of these things are African in their nature.
The art of war.
The art of war comes from us.
Now, let's come to this, because I see time is not on our side. Britain agrees to take the south of Africa, and they name us South Africa. Yes. And then they also
take a south, which is called Rhodesia.
Yes, because of Cecil John Rhodes. Yeah, the North and Southern Rhodesia.
Exactly.
And.
Yeah.
And during freedom of Rhodesia, the Zimbabweans wise up and decides we cannot be called Rhodesia. We are not Rhodesians. We are Zimbabweans, because Zimbabwe is a particular bed that is there, that is only in their area, and they want to be called after them.
Yeah.
I don't want to say Mzansi, because Mzansi is still saying South. Azania, with its meaning. Why in 1994, when we had our freedom, 1990, 1991, didn't we give conditions to say, the moment you begin to be free from something, you go back to your rightful name. Why did we not do that? Because other countries, first thing when they were independent, they went back to the names that they were called.
You can name them in Africa.
Yes, a lot of them. Yes.
Even people who were obviously dictators. They named countries. Zaire.
Yeah, exactly.
Zaire.
Yes.
Was named by a dictator. And then we had people that named Burkina Faso, Sankara, the land of the upright. Now, what happened in South Africa?
Yes.
Now, this one wants me to take off my glasses. In South Africa, we spoke about Mandela leaving Pollsmoor prison and leaving Robben Island. And we spoke about meetings being held in Paris and in England. Both attended by Mandela, Sam Mandela and Mbeki and the rest of them. But when they came in, the ANC already was divided. They were negotiating as the leader of that negotiation as a compromised lot. And hence the prophecy of Krizani. They were compromised. Now, when you are compromised, you negotiate things. You institutionalize things, because once you put something into a constitution, you are institutionalizing it.
True.
It's permanent. It can only be changed when 1, 2, 3 happens. That is why when you change a street, everybody else goes up in arms. When you change Johannesburg, remember, people wanted to call Johannesburg Soweto. And then we were refused. And then people said, no, but we used to call it Gauteng. They said, no, we can give you a province because a province is not known. We can give it to you to be Gauteng, but we can't change the name Johannesburg. In the same way, you can't say Cape Town is Khayelitsha. You can't. And you can't go and name Bloemfontein.
But you know, that is like, these are the first things that when you come into power, you would want to be reminded. Even Idi Amin, when he started leading in Uganda, one of the things that he did was change names.
Exactly.
Because names have got meaning.
Not only meaning, names are identity.
Yes.
When you fight for a land called South Africa, and it is your land, you have its own name, you. When you win it back,
you can't call it what it was called by the colonizer.
Yeah, let's put it this way. When a woman gets married, what is the first thing that he does?
Change name.
Out of negotiation, he changes name.
Yes.
Now, out of negotiation, we didn't change name.
Why?
Because we are afraid of white people.
Fast forward, we can't change towns. We can't even change provinces. What's wrong with us?
We negotiate 9 provinces.
Yes.
We become aware that 9 provinces are not sustainable in terms of our budget and in terms of use of money. The ANC proposes that we should turn this into 5. The ANC does not take this thing on and forward, even if it has a 2/3 majority in parliament. Why? Because for as long as you want to please the master and become politically correct in the view of the master, you will remain backward.
You know, that is Lepa, I grew in a season, I grew in years where we would name schools Latin. Al what, and we'll be excited and want to sound like rurutegile.
Exactly.
What's wrong with us?
It's wrong with us. A lot is wrong with us. First of all, when they wrote the Bible, they used the names John, Peter, Paul. We know those names didn't exist. We know. But we are the ones that are teaching them. We are not worried what was Daniel called before he was called Daniel by a white man. We don't want to know what was Meshach called before he was... although the Bible mentions their names, their Jewish names.
Yes.
We don't name them. The Bible says Yeshua. And then we say, no, but it's Jesus.
We say Jesus.
Exactly. Why are we doing this? Because we are mentally enslaved to still think that we need to consult a white man. And let me tell you what our numbers are saying. Our numbers of democracy, besides the fact that we are divided, this country is 87% black. And we are afraid of 13%. 87. It's us.
But remember, it's not necessarily because we are afraid. We are dependent on them. Every township depends on the bread that is delivered by a white company. Every township depends on the eggs that are delivered by the white man. Every country is dependent on the sugar. And the list is endless that is owned by the white companies. So as a result, even there, the economy is not in us, it's in them.
But the fact that those things remain unchanged 30 years down democracy must be blamed on the governing elite to say, what is it that they tell us?
But
if the elite say to us,
we have all read the book It's Our Time to Eat of Kenya.
Yes.
Don't we learn lessons from Kenya on the Kenyatta and Uhuru issues? Aren't we learning anything from there?
The moment you become an elite, the spirit of elitism is a problem in Africa. People are elites. When you are elite, it creates an impression in your brain that thinking is reserved for you. You are the best black. You are the only black. Now, for as long as we have that, and let me tell you, Mandela had it. We can argue as much as...
But also, safe to say, elites have got a tendency of being irritated when people do not share their views.
Yeah, that's how elites become elites. Is when you start to disassociate. That's why I question the standard of education in our country. To say, what type of education is this? That when you become educated, you want to leave your group and belong in another group.
But
what type of education?
No, that's like maybe it's not necessarily education. No, it's this elitism that you are speaking about, because the moment we become better, me and you, with medical aids, with our children in white schools, what happens to the fellow blacks with our houses in towns? What happens to Komakeshining?
But let me show you that it is education that makes this a problem. Yeah? Gangsters become rich. Where do they stay? In the township. They become heroes in the township with their riches in the township. Yeah? They don't leave because they are uneducated and they can't relate to any other person except their group, although they abuse and exploit their group. But us, when we become educated and we are so-called middle class, we work very hard to be middle without even worried who's top. And we know who's bottom, because bottom is us. Yes. We moved from bottom to middle. This classism itself, it's a problem in Africa that creates, because it is created by capitalism. It's created by people who are little in number becoming richer while the majority becomes poor.
That is like, I don't know why, but at the back of my mind, what Ndlozi was teaching about Fernon, being conscious, the self-consciousness, and all these things, to be able to say, you also said in the last engagement that white people have got this thing of studying. You also sent me something that says, they say the home affairs now is in us. Let us make sure that these black police will go and deal with the black people whilst we give our fellow Europeans free visas to come into the country and do all these other things. I'm saying, this is just a preamble. I'm leading you to this question, being mindful of the time. Then, don't we have think tanks of abantu abamnyama that are beginning to say, we need to start our own schools. We need to, there's this argument today that is saying an Afrikaner child is smarter than a Tswana Xhosa child, but you get that the barrier is language. If ngwana wa ka na etsa science ka Tswana or ka Xhosa, if ana etsa these things would make it easy because ka slibali.
Sure.
Yes.
100%. It talks to two things, very critical. Quickly. One is the language that has economy behind it. Yeah? When the black government took over, they agreed with white people that we've got 11 official languages.
Yes.
Right? We believe equal in standing. Right? And why didn't they set a tone by saying, now that these are official languages, because in terms of stature and economic discussions, we are going to have a problem of vocabulary among black people. Let's start to create a development process into bringing these languages equal.
On par.
And where do you start? At primary level. To say you do mathematics in Tswana.
We
do mathematics in Tswana. You start to say, in this school, Kibo Malungana mo. This school will only be good in Tsonga. We enhance Tsonga.
Yes.
Mo kibo slap, we enhance Sepedi.
But maybe the easy thing would also be provinces to be able to say in the northwest, Kiba Tswana, in whatever, and be able to.
The economy there is driven in Setswana.
Yes.
We are not doing that. In fact, let me tell you, if this thing can reach Twitter, clever blacks are gonna say, "Hi, where do you get an economy driven by black people?" They forget that the Chinese economy is driven in Chinese. The Japanese is driven in Japan.
The Russians are not apologetic when they address the United Nations.
And we are.
We are.
Our president comes there.
Yes.
And he talks another language.
Yes.
Why is he coming there and talking English? He must arrive there. They must find an interpreter. He must talk in his language. He's a vendor guy.
Yes.
Talking is a vendor. These people must get used to it. When we go to parliament, I saw the same battle in Parliament where the EFF and MK, they are saying, you can't force Afrikaans and English in us because this speaker is talking in Afrikaans and there's no interpreter, we don't understand. Now, another one, now you are forcing us to say, no, but let's talk in English. English is still not our mother tongue. But how far did the EFF and MK take it? They take it as far as getting interpretation. They are not looking behind and say, why is it the case that in a black parliament, we still talk in English? Why?
Yeah. These are some of the things. Remember also, in Africa, look at us. We speak English more than the English.
Unprovoked.
We speak English more than the English.
Sure.
Our fellow brothers, they speak French more than the French.
Exactly.
We also teach English in England. Speak Portuguese in Mozambique and Angola.
What you are just saying. We go from Africa to go and teach the English.
Yes, because they don't speak their English. They don't
get us to England to teach them our language.
We teach them their language.
Yeah.
Being smart or dumb, we are born in this, and we would die in it.
We would. In the next episode, let's talk two things.
Yes.
What was the effect of Leopold?
Yes.
To the missionary.
But we have always promised our viewers, and maybe let us do it.
Yeah.
And go for an hour.
Sure.
Take two of them. Making an African a Christian.
And how to make a slave.
And how to make Willie Lynch.
And we couple them. And we open the minds of Africans. Yeah. I heard somebody said in the comments, and we respect that. He said, this stuff that we are talking is not researched. And I challenged him to give us the research stuff. He's still coming.
Our biggest problem is also, we tend to want things that are confirmed and conferred by the white person.
Yeah.
And then we will say it is a researched thing. Who is researching? Who gives authority to what? Because in these conversations, we are provoking your mind. In these conversations, we are saying, let us change the way we see things. Because we have always said, if you change the way you look at things,
the things that you look at change.
Yes. So let us change the way we look at things.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
God bless.
Bless you.